Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping once again. I've had a rather interesting time recently. My computer froze up on me, and it's a long story. It had to do with the download and so forth. It got stuck, whatever. I finally found somebody who could deal with that, and they did a very fine job, and we finally got it straightened out, only to discover that my webcam had failed me. It was not quite as old as I am, but it seemed that way. So I couldn't find one I wanted locally. So I went to Amazon and got one there, and I was just very unsatisfied with its performance when I got it. So I've been running around trying to figure out what next to do while doing everything else I have to do. And I finally decided I'd just use my phone and see what happened. I trust it won't be bad. I suspect the biggest problem will be sound, but I don't know that. So we'll find out today whether or not this will be something we can use, or I can use at least, during this period until I make up my mind what the next stage is in terms of webcams. Now, we'll only have three things to talk about today. That'll make it much faster than normal. First and foremost, some of you may remember back in 2021, if you were around then, that we had a spate of advertising going on here when they thought the market would be opening again. It was a little premature. Anyhow, they had all these fantastic deals with great rates of returns on investment that you can make in real estate. And I remember, it was just, the stuff, it was just weird. Some of the stuff that came out, how they came up with it, I don't know. It was very poorly done. It was bad. And the fun is happening again. And basically what it boils down to is this. One thing I need to make clear to you. This is a US dollar country. We're all used to using the dollar. That's all we use. It is a financial hub for the entire region. We have a lot of financial expertise here from countries all over the world who are involved with the canal and the free trade zones and everything else that goes on. This is a business country. So we have lots of those folks here. And our banks are really quite sophisticated, indeed. And remember, ours were not bailed out during the financial crisis, as was the case in the US and Europe and some other places. So as a result of that, we're pretty savvy, and it's a small nation. So if you start getting pitches that say you can get a 20, 30, 40, 50% return over a year or two, just in dollars, of course, what else? That's all we have. Be careful. I'd ignore them completely. That's just my attitude on it, very simply. They give very little detail. They don't tell you how they come up with that percentage. They never seem to say anything about, say, a tax event. Americans, for instance, are not taxed up to a certain amount in earned income overseas if they stay over long enough. But investment income, they have their tax on. And it is a taxable event in Panama. And even though you may not, wherever you're from, you may not be responsible for paying taxes on your income earned outside the country, when it's clearly inside the country, you owe. So keep this in mind. There's no explanation of anything like that. And what I've seen, what's been sent to me, more than one item, I just go, no, come on. They're really reaching out to the gullible. And it's not hard because you've never been here. You just don't deal here. You don't understand, and there's a lot of differences here in some respects. But when it comes to money, we know what we're doing. Anything like that promises that double-digit returns in dollars over a relatively short period of time, those are the three things that so many expats are looking for. For some reason, they think we must have them down here. I don't know why, because we're not any different than anybody else. So in the event that these were such good deals, they'd be oversubscribed by local people so fast to make your head spin. And if not, Panamanians didn't get there first, so with the Venezuelans, the Colombians, the Ecuadorians, and everybody else who's in the line. We have a very global crowd. So that's why you would not have to send an email to a complete stranger in another country with a pitch like this without there being a very good reason why you didn't sell them here. I mean, if I could get 30%, 40%, 50% in a couple of years, I'm interested. I can't get that here, and I know that. So, in any event, just a warning again, we have some of those things that will be going on, and just be very clear to anybody who offers it, you need to have precise information as to how they came up with the percentage and what the tax effects may be in your country and here in Panama and everything else. You want all the details. Otherwise, beware. Now, that's one. Secondly, I have a suggestion to you. People often come to me and say, Bob, I really would like to have a map, the kind that you open them up, they're made of paper and all that. I think most of us grew up with them. They're very nice to have. I love them myself. But you don't find them. How am I going to find one? I have said it many times. I've made the reference and then realized recently I hadn't mentioned anything about it for a while. So there may be some of you who aren't aware of it. But the National Geographic puts out an outstanding map on Panama. It's called an adventure map. But the point is that it's the full-fledged map. It has the whole road structure. It has places of interest to visit. It's a really very professional map. If you're familiar with National Geographic at all, and most of us are, their cartography is amongst the best. And I mean, these are excellent maps. And you can get one that's very resistant to tearing, and it is resistant to water. It's really meant to be stuffed in your backpack, whatever, as you go sailing off in the country. And they are updated. And I had them from 10 years ago. And I went in just to check to see what was up now. And they are definitely updated. I was very impressed by it all. So it's $14.95, which I think is a real deal. And that's for the really good quality one. So I'm going to give you a link below to the Nat Geo website where you can purchase it if you want it. Now I'll also give you one to the Map Shop. And the reason there is that on one occasion, some years ago, National Geographic ran out of the Panama map, and it was going to be some time before they had it replaced, and people really wanted a copy. The Map Shop buys a bunch of them and keeps them in stock, and they sell it for the same $14.95. And I put in their link as a backup in the case Nat Geo happens to have run out for some reason. I doubt that's the case, but you never know. So there you've got both of these links. Everything is fine. I think you'll be very pleased with the map, very pleased. And finally, the last thing that I have to mention to you, I think of all these things as tools, so to speak, to keep in mind when you come. This one is a bit unusual. And some people respond to it very differently than they expect to. This young gentleman, David, is a Panamanian. Doesn't speak a lot of English, but I mean, he's a very nice guy. And he does something very unusual. He takes his camcorder and starts off. He starts at the end of a main avenue here and walks all the way down as far as he can. And if it's even longer, it may be a second. They may be part one and part two, and they may be an hour long. He walks the length of Calle 50, which is a main street. It means 50th Street, but it's a main avenue here in the city. I've been up and down that street 2,000 times, and I haven't seen half the stuff because you're in a car, you're moving. Now, I started out with David walking down in part one for Calle 50, and I ended up going the whole way with him because I kept thinking, all right, the next building up is such and such. And they go, no, where is it? I don't see it. And then it would come up. And I realized, oh my gosh, all these other things between the two of the buildings that I remember, that I notice every time I go by. So it was just interesting to me. And he went out. In that case, it was apparently early morning. You can see from where the sun is. Very little foot traffic, so he was free to walk easily. Now, he's doing that in a number of different areas in the city. And he put out one recently. This is going to be why I was about to do, a couple weeks ago, actually, it's getting close to that, a video, because I wanted to mention this. A new one was coming on. Well, it's on. and it's the Amador Causeway. Now, Amador Causeway is basically a road that travels over both land and water. In the Florida Keys, there's a causeway. Goes from Key West into the mainland of Florida. Here, our causeway connects the city or the mainland to 3 islands that are at the mouth of the Panama Canal. And they have a military purpose for protecting it, always have. And during World War II, there was a bunker up in one of the hills. There's quite a history to that area from the military perspective. Today, it is home to so many marinas and restaurants and so much activity. It's astonishing how much it is, and it's very, very, very popular. So he has taken a trip down that. I found that one was about an hour too. I found I was caught up in it for about 30, 40 minutes. And then on his way back, I thought, well, I've seen that. The key point is that I couldn't take my eyes off it at first. It is a perfect example of the city and the people who live in it. It is the wide variety of people that you see. They come in every size, shape, color, whatever, and they're every age group. There are very inexpensive things to do out at Amador, and there are restaurants that will charge you a good sum of money if you want to spend money. But mostly it's for families and anybody else, lovers, the young people, all this stuff, the works out there on Amador. And you'll see them all. You'll get to see the real people on a weekend, it's clear, when they are just enjoying themselves and out having an easy day. I like going out to Amador. I enjoy it. I like going out on weekdays too, and it's not quite so busy, but it is always active, and it's very, very fascinating. So he does these, he's done a half a dozen of these. He's doing more, and at his channel, he has what are called premieres they use in YouTube, and that is if you click on it, you will get a notification that on a specific day, you will be told at a specific time, he'll be premiering for the first time, showing a particular tour. So you know when the next one's coming up, actually the next 2 or 3. And I used that for the Amador one, it worked. And so it definitely does work. It's not like the standard of sending out emails for YouTube channels. You don't always get everything you expect to. These get you the right message to you in time. So I will give you one link to the Amador one, just so you can see that. Then the other one to the main page for the channel itself, where you'll see which ones are coming up and which are already there. He's going to be doing work in Casco Viejo, the old quarter, and I think you're going to find that very interesting. He doesn't say anything. There's sound, but he isn't talking. As he says, he doesn't speak English that well. He does this for everybody, not just for one language group. It's just a clever idea and a smart one. And I think it is, for some people, it's going to be fascinating. Others will get bored in the first 5 minutes, okay? But give it a shot and see what happens. It really turns out to be more interesting than I had expected. And I live here. So I've seen most of these things many times over. So 3 cheers for David, and you take a look at it and you can see what's coming up, and sign up if you want to subscribe to his channel, and then, or at least for the premieres, if one of them interests you. I wanted to share that too. It gives you a little more the flavor of Panama City and those of us who live here and work here. Okay, that's it. I hope this is going to look fairly decent and I can put this up today and not feel bad about it. But it's probably going to be used for a little while here until I get everything sorted out. In the meantime, thank you for your patience yet again, and I'll be back. See you next time.